Hmm. So Anna, folks, if you want to hear the beginning of this show, there's 23 minutes of mirth that you might want to go back and
Mirthance is, I
mirth.
think, what you were trying to say.
Yeah. So
Mirth-filled minutes are mirthants, and we should cherish them
go
for the
grab
joy that
all
they are.
23 minutes of that on audio. But if you're listening to this on YouTube,
Hi, YouTubers.
Anna, you were getting ready to tell us why
Today,
the day before the day is your favorite
the day
day
before the
of
day
the
before the
year.
day.
No, no.
Today's the 29th of
Okay,
December.
And then it's the 30th.
That's my favorite day of the year. And the 30th is my second favorite day of the year. Here's why.
Those 2 days. That's ridiculous. Why those 2 days?
Because people are still on their Christmas break. I'm not getting work emails because I get about 300 to 350 emails a day. It's a lot. Now, granted, I'm choosing to check them, but it's a lot. So nobody's emailing me. Nobody's asking me to do anything. And this is the time where I can sit and focus on what my New Year's intentions, goals, resolutions, whatever you want to call them. And I go through a process every year, and it takes a couple of days because you kind of get into the mode. And every year I think, I don't feel like doing this. I'm just going to write like 10 goals and be done with it. And then I make myself go through the process. And it's always very illuminating. So I love these 2 days because nobody's visiting. I'm not visiting. I'm at home. Nobody's bothering me. And I can sit and do that because that time is very precious and we don't allow ourselves that. Or at least I don't allow myself that very often. I was just doing an interview with somebody and he said, how many hours do you work a day? And I said, does waking up at 6 a.m. with anxiety count as the start of a work day?
Yeah.
Because it's nonstop when you own your own business. And I own several businesses that, you know what I mean? It's like from the moment I wake up, I'm working, I'm thinking. So it's really nice to just have a little bit of quiet time, and you have to give yourself that. If you're going to, you have to have thinking time if you're going to move things forward, because you got to know where you want to take action and where you want to set your priorities. So that's why I love these days.
Anna, if you don't mind me interviewing you a little bit more about it, because I personally wear a lot of hats throughout the day. So I know you wear a lot of hats too. You always know the day before what you're going to be. At least I know the day before what's coming up the next day. Right.
As far as like interviews on the calendar or voiceover, although voiceover sessions, my agent can oftentimes call and say, hey, they need you. He'll oftentimes write me at between 8 and 8:30 and say, they need you at 10 a.m. I say, okay. Or I'll say, no, I can't do it. Or can I go now? You know what I mean? Like I have a lot of surprises.
That gets thrown in. So how many different hats do you wear in any given day?
Oh, well, here's the thing. I've chosen to be the face of my brand, like you've chosen to be the face of NSNG. So in addition to this podcast, I've got to make my own content. I'm on a book deadline. So I have a third cookbook coming out. So I've got to write content. I've got to film content. I've got to make sure that I have enough. So this whole thing is grown by word of mouth. And as you know, we have to focus on social media content, but then the way that I pay the bills is through being a voice actor and a comic. So I've got to make sure I make time for that. In fact, Vinny, I wanted to bring this up because I know we're talking about New Year's resolutions. And by the way, the process that I go through is a really simple book called Your Best Year Yet by Jinny Ditzler. You guys have heard me talk about it year in and year out, but for the new people, I know Debbie will link to it or Leona will link to it in the notes. It's a very simple process to kind of drill down on what you learned from last year, how to celebrate your victories, how to identify your failures, and then change some paradigms and write a new set of goals and intentions with different segments in your life. So you're not neglecting anything. Some people might just be all disoriented and lose out on that. So anyway, I'm on an interview earlier today, and the interviewer said, we were even talking about that, being pulled in a lot of directions and wearing a lot of hats. And he says, yeah, but you have passive income. So what do you have to worry about? Is literally the words he said to me. And I was like, what do you mean by passive income?
Anna, can you see the steam coming out of my ears past my little ear?
I jumped on his throat a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
Did you really?
Here's what I said. Because I know you know this, Vinny, because we've talked about for years, there's no such thing as passive income. You can have investments. And by the way, people's investments are going crazy. If you own real estate or if you own stocks or whatever, things are going crazy and you just have to weather that storm. But it's not like you're like, well, I just get a check for 10 grand every month and passive income. Like it doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't exist. Everything is very active. And the people trying to sell you passive income are lying. They're liars.
Well,
they are lying.
You are a bit wrong. Let me give 2 examples of passive income.
Okay.
One is if you were on a sitcom that went for 10 years and now it's constantly in rotation.
Okay. I've witnessed that, being friends with somebody who was on a sitcom for 10 years.
Right.
I witnessed him receiving some checks.
Yeah. They don't have to work again, but those people want to, they want to get, the reason they had to start giving actors, the residuals is because back in the day, let me give you a pure example. Beverly Hillbillies.
I was going to say Happy Days. They had to fight for residuals.
Well, Beverly Hillbillies, they, on any given night, back in those days, in the late 1960s, we had about 200,000 people in the country. And on any given Friday night, when that show was on air, they brought in between 70 and 90 million Americans. They had like more than 1/3 of the country paying attention.
Right.
When that show was over with, those actors, number one, never got paid again.
Right.
And number two, where's Max Baer Jr. going to go to get another job? He's known now as Jethro.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Even it took, what's his name? Buddy Epson, a half a lifetime before he got Barnaby Jones or any other show.
Right. And that's true. And that's
impossible.
an issue. And the smart actors in the 60s and 70s figured out how to make appearances, how they had agents who were like, can we get them on game shows? Can we, you know what I mean? We take this all for granted because we have access to all kinds of actors on social media now, but it was the struggle was real if you decided to become an actor, especially if you're a journeyman actor, not like a movie star, which most of us are journeyman actors. But that's what I am.
Right.
That's how I've made my living and how I've made my health insurance every year and how I've, so Vinnie, let's cut out the people who've made it big, the friends, the modern family, the people who have hit the jackpot, let's say, because that is, they are
the people that get
lightning in a bottle.
The family leaves them a lot of money, which
let's
by the
leave
way,
those people out.
Take them
I'm
right
talking
out.
about the majority of Americans who are struggling, who are, paycheck to paycheck or just trying to do not believe the hype about passive income. Do believe the hype about working your ass off and following your passion and being smart and working really hard and providing value and doing side hustles. Absolutely. There's tons of money to be made. I don't want to say that, but it's never going to come to you just sleeping at night and visualizing it and whispering it to the universe. That it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I asked the guy, I said, how long have you been married? He said 30 years. And I said, that's what I thought, because he's got 2 kids that are grown. And I was like, is your marriage, would you call it a passive marriage or do you put work into it? And he's like, well, I have to put work into it. I was like, yeah, I bet. If you're with somebody and you're growing together, you both have to put some work into it. Do you have, for your health, would you call that passive health? Vinnie, you train people. Would you say it's passive?
Your body is always doing something, whether you decide whether it's going to be positive or negative. So your body's never, we're never, we're not a mountain, even though a mountain is not, mountain's constantly moving.
Can I go NSNG on January 1st? And then when I hit my goal, let's say by August-ish, I hit my goal, I lose 50, 60, 70 pounds. I can be done, right? Because and then I can have passive health because I did it, right? I put in all the starter work and now I don't have to do it anymore.
No, you would go right back to where you were before.
Okay.
Period.
So this is not to say that you can't work smart. That's what NSNG is about, your health. It's a way to work smart. It's a way to cut off the learning curve. It's a way to go, you know what? If I get off the carb train and get off the addiction train and get on eating more fat and my body learns to run more efficiently, then you're working smart, right?
Correct.
And the same thing you can do with your work. And by the way, with your relationship, you come up with different ways. You come up with different in a relationship, you figure out different ways of communicating that works, because generally you have two people thrown together with different languages who are trying to like blame each other for the thing. You come up with different ways and shortcuts. No, everybody who's been together any length of time, you have to figure out a way of getting on the same page rapidly.
Yeah.
To deal with life together. So I just want to throw that out there. And I wanted to relate it to health and fitness and NSNG in particular, because a lot of people are going to be new, and their next week is going to be our biggest week of the year, podcast wise.
Yeah.
Because everybody who's ignoring us right now because they feel guilt and shame for having gone on the holiday
bender.
bender.
Yeah, I'll just start next year.
Yeah, I want Vinnie and Anna stay out of my feed. Unsubscribe, unfollow, and then on January 2nd, they'll be back. And I understand that, by the way. I'm not mad at anybody for doing that. I get it. But I'm also like, this is what Vinny's been saying forever. Just on the next meal, just get right back on. Get right back on. There's no shame in it. And we're not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you have to do it. He's not going to tell you have to do it. He's just offering information for people who want to make that change. And so, long story short, I want you to talk about your New Year's resolutions. We're going to talk about some podcast episodes that were your favorite throughout the year, so that Leona can link to them and you guys can go listen to them. And let's start this year off right.
First, I want to say this. We're taping this again early. Christmas hasn't even happened yet, but it's coming up. And we have to tape it early because I may have to jump at the drop of a hat and go overseas. And, we were planning on having a house full of people here for Christmas this year.
Right.
And Christmas, as you know, we canceled it because, we have stuff going on. And Serena's been out of town. And all of a sudden the other day, I think I told you about this on the other show, this giant ham shows up.
Yes.
Fully cooked.
What's doing with the ham?
And this is not a honey baked ham crap. This is out of Kentucky. It's a smoked ham that was fully cooked, and we're going to have this giant ham for Christmas. And I realized I had to do something with this. So I called the neighbors. They have 4 kids. It's the 4 kids. It's the kids I have working out in my gym. Those kids. And these people do not need handouts at all. But I went, well, I bet you 4 kids and family and the whole thing, I bet you they can handle that ham. So I called them and said, hey, you want this ham? They said, sure. And
that's so nice.
And then I looked in the pantry because I knew Serena must have been stockpiling, stuff like minced meat pies and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Because a lot of relatives were going to come from England. And, I'm not going to begrudge these people sugars and grains and the whole thing. And sure enough, I found this big giant stash, 3 big grocery bags full of, those panettone cakes, those Italian.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There was like 3 or 4 of those. There were the
Italian fruit cake.
Yeah. We used to call them Dom DeLuise. Now we call it panettone. So we had a bunch of those. We had all these mincemeat pies and all this stuff, like bags. And right before these people left, I said, hang on, let me see what else we have. And I got all that. And I gave them all that. And you might say, well, geez, Vinny, you say no sugars, no grains, and you gave all the stuff away. It's like, those people were going to eat that for Christmas anyway. I just stopped them from having to buy it. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good to be able to get all the stuff out of the house. Did I keep any for me, any at all? No, because any at all means that you're planning on eating that.
Right.
That will somehow, and I know what people say, well, I'm going to buy something at the grocery store. I'm just going to have a little bit here and there. All of that has to go through your liver. All of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want any of that going through my liver.
Well, a friend of mine said to me recently, and by the way, I always think it's funny. My aunt just tagged me in something on Facebook where she had a fruit cake that was really good, but she said, sorry, Anna Vocino, but I ate it. And I'm like, I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah. People always
I don't care.
Sorry, Vinny.
Yeah. I'm always like, you do you. It's your health and your body. And if you love that fruitcake, great. I don't care.
Hope you enjoyed it.
How boring of a life would I have to have if I concerned myself with everything that everybody puts in their mouth? That would be like, so my friend said, I did NSNG and I lost the 25 pounds and it was great. And I know it felt great, but then all of a sudden I wake up and I've put it back on and I can't seem to get it off. And so I wanted to like kind of bring that up as like a thing that we've all told her, I can't do this. And it's like, well, are you doing what you did last time? No, but I can't seem to bring myself to do it. And I go, okay, I understand that. You're going to have to figure it out.
Look, it's just like the passive income thing. It makes my head explode because people, everyone I talk to, you make money on the internet. It's passive income. I get up every morning and dance.
That's right.
I dance. Also,
just to be clear,
all day long.
The sauces and the spices, I don't make anything from that. Yeah. Any money that makes goes right back into more manufacturing. So obviously I'm trying to grow it so that one day it does make some money, but it's going to be years. It's going to be a grind. So I just want to be really clear that I'm not sitting there going, woohoo, Susie just ordered a 3-pack of spices. I'm taking a bath in champagne. No, that's not.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen that way. And look, even with, you take the documentaries and, people go,
you put money back into it. And
you put out 3 documentaries and basically under 4 years, I put out 3 documentaries, 3.5 years.
Time and money.
I don't think people realize, people realize the money is one thing, the time. Now, let me give you a way of looking at this. Our buddy Adam Carolla has a studio set up with several people, not 2, not 3, not 5, maybe 10 people working on his documentaries all the time.
Right.
It takes them years to come up with one. When was the last time Carolla put out a documentary? It was probably, Uppity, which was maybe, I was still living in LA because I watched the screening of Uppity at the Carolla Christmas, like the Carolla Christmas party is just for the game, right?
Right.
And he showed us Uppity. We were still living in LA.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes us people. So for me to hustle and get one out, the way I've been getting them out, that's
and you're doing a new one.
And I'm working on a new one. And the book, people go, well, that book is passive income. That book, you got to do 5 podcasts a week and do everybody else's podcast and be on Twitter every day, twice a day, answering every question if you want to see sales on a book that's 10 years old. And people go, what about your vitamins? Just like Anna. Yeah, they make money, but boy, you want to keep a vitamin company running? It takes money.
Yeah.
And
for sure. And I don't want to get into that whole discussion. We have to defend what we're doing for a living. I'm not doing that. But
when they say passive income, it's like, I've never worked so hard in my life, and I've worked hard my entire life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think back to the days of being a trainer and go, should I just
it was simpler. Listen, I could have chosen early on to say, okay, do this little podcast of Vinnie, and that was fun, and then not go the route of doing the cookbooks and not going the route of launching the stuff. But it just feels like I need to do that. I'm somehow compelled to do it. And I say to Lauren, I could shut this down. I always say, which by the way, this is for most of us is true. You could shut it all down in like 2 well-placed phone calls. And, and that's okay. It's not to belittle anything about where you are in life. It just, you can do that and you can choose to do that at any time. For me, it feels empowering to know I'm choosing to do all this. I'm going to take ownership of how stressful this feels because I could shut it down in 2 well-placed phone calls, and I'm choosing to not do that. I want to grow this thing as big as possible. I want food available for people to buy in every grocery store in America. I want to grow this. I want people to have recipes. I want people to understand your message of NSNG. I want people to feel empowered to go in the kitchen. And so I'm just compelled to do this. But I want to also work smarter, like you're talking about. That's one of my intent. I want to work smarter. If I'm going to get us into 2,000 retailers next year, I better work smarter. I got to work with more than what I'm working with right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be sustainable. So the same thing with NSNG. If you have already done it and you have that touch point and yet you can't bring yourself back to it, there's something going on that needs to be addressed. There's something that's trying to tell you, hey, please take a look at me.
Yeah.
Because if you did it before and you took all the physical steps and it goes away, which by the way is part of the process. This happens all the time. People do it. I love it. It's great. Something happens. I had the wedding cake or I had the thing and it sent me on a bender, whatever. And the thing that Vinnie always tries to tell you is you don't have to go on the bender. You could just come right back. And it's actually not like the heavens open and angels speak to you. You just stop the madness and get right back on the NSNG train.
Yeah.
But like if before you had done it, you just can't do it. You can, by the way. If you say you just can't do it, you can, by the way.
Yeah.
There's something there going that's telling you, hey, you can't do this. Hey, you're not able to do this. I know you did it before, but you know what? You're older now. You don't know how, you can't do this. You know what? Your body's different now. You know what? You can't. You're not. There's something in there in your programming in your brain that's a lie that is lying to you. So I would just invite you to take a look at that, guys.
Thank you for that, Anna, because I'm talking to people about, that's what my whole Instagram is about, you know?
Yeah.
That's stay motivated.
Your Instagram is amazing. Your Instagram is reframing a lot of things that we get subconscious, subliminal, whatever you want to call it, messaging from TV, commercials, social media, even just seeing images of fit people. You automatically make this snap decision about yourself. I don't look like that. This is why representation is important, so people can see different kinds of body types, different kinds of skin color, because we do tend to internalize those things that something's wrong with me because I don't look like the thing that I see all the time. And really what you have to do is go, I'm going to take responsibility for how, when I see stuff, how it makes me feel and how it makes me beat up on myself. But it takes some real like self-reflection to go, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not a fat piece of shit because I saw a skinny person do a thing. I'm actually, you know what I mean? It takes a little bit to get those negative thoughts out. It takes awareness and it's a long process. And I wish if I had a wish for 2023, it would be to everybody, be easier on yourself about your negative thoughts, because the easier you are, the easier it is to get rid of them. When you're hard on yourself, they don't go away because you're playing into them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, earlier this year, I looked at my Instagram and thought about shutting it down.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was at like 25 or 26,000 people. You know, I was complaining because I said, you know what, this thing is not even growing anymore. It doesn't matter. It does, you know, so, you know,
feels like you're spitting into a hurricane. It's like nothing's happening.
It's like, why am I doing this? And one day I went here, I'll show you the page I went on to on Instagram. So if anyone's watching this, so I'm going to Instagram. When you hit the search thing, right? The search thing comes up and you see a bunch of different things. And what I would see when I pulled the search thing up is you see women dancing, like they're dancing around for a second, and then the clothes change on their body or whatever. And then, or you'll see, you know, just a weightlifting fail, right? Like it's either watching hot women with clothes popping on them or a fail of some sort, like someone doing squats and they slipped and fell. And I don't want to watch any of that.
Yeah.
I don't care what women are wearing, and I don't care I don't want to watch people fail.
Right.
And I remember staring at that, and it was right around the time, you know, I had my buddy Scott Mulvaney that, you know, he was getting paid to look over my Instagram and the whole thing. And for whatever reason, I took it back. I took it to myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to take over my Instagram here for a while and, you know, pull the middleman out. I can do this. And with the help of Megan, my assistant, I said, Megan, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to start doing this whole stay motivated thing. And I'm just going to give little tips. Sometimes I show weightlifting exercises. Sometimes I show, you know, I just give thoughts of the day. I did one the other day where I did one of my favorite Vince Lombardi quotes. But all of a sudden, 25,000 people became 26,000 people. 26 became 27. Before I knew it, I was at 30,000 people. One time it was growing so fast, it went from like 32 to 35,000 people. Megan called me and asked me if I was paying to play.
No.
She was like, it was like, Megan, no, why would I pay to, she was like, it's growing so fast. And then we figured out, oh, I had a couple of things going viral where they were getting millions of hits, and that was making it grow. Long story short, since about August, when I took over, it's been 4 months, we've grown my Instagram here. I'll let you know what it is right now. My total followers now it's over 54,000 people. We've more than doubled it.
That's amazing.
Right? And why do I care? Because I'm talking to more people and they're loving the message.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me. Otherwise, I don't care. Right. But I don't want to be talking into an abyss. And if this thing is growing, I'll keep doing it.
Listen, we got to have the metrics growing, or else, I mean, you and I have been doing this for 11 years.
Yeah.
This podcast, I mean, you've been doing your career for your whole career, but you have to grow and expand and get the message out. Because if it was not getting out, we would have shut it down forever ago. But I am demanding your 4th movie be released next year. Is that one of your resolutions?
It is.
Be ready in time?
It might not be.
Yeah.
And here's
my book won't be ready. I think I think they take a year. So I turned it in January 15th. So it'll probably be a year.
Well, I was on schedule to get it out before the end of this coming year, before the end of 23. But I had to put one of my shoots on the back burner because of all the stuff that's going on. So I have
It'll come out when it comes out then.
And I may still get that to happen.
Yeah.
My film crew will be ready to go whenever I can go to Austin and shoot. But I have other stuff, family comes first, and that's that. Yeah. So I'm dealing with that. My last year's resolutions, one of them, let's see, I wrote them all down. Let's see where they are. Maybe I can do this really fast. Let's see. Anna, why don't you do a Villa Capelli yet while I see if I can.
Hey guys, you know what's going to help you go NSNG in the new year? Villa Capelli olive oil, the best olive oil on the planet. They've been longtime sponsors of this show. We love them. Stephen Crutchfield took over after Paul Capelli passed away a couple of years ago, and he's doing a bang up job. And Villa Capelli, Vinnie and I love drinking our Villa Capelli. We shoot it straight, which, by the way, when we started this podcast, I thought it was a little crazy that you would shoot a shot of olive oil. And then I started doing it. I was like, this is great. You have not tasted real olive oil until you taste Villa Capelli. It's grown on a very tiny, what would you say, a farm? It's a villa, but on an olive farm.
It's an olive farm.
With literally ancient olive trees, Coratina olives. It's absolutely delicious. It's 100% real extra virgin olive oil, which unfortunately, it was something like 95% of the olive oils at grocery stores are cut with cheaper oils, and they don't have to label them, which is infuriating. That's a whole other podcast. Anyway, get yourself some Villa Capelli olive oil. Use the discount code Vinnie, VINNIE, not with a wimpy Y, and you'll get 10% off your order each and every time. Now, they do have a free shipping threshold. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like 125. Just make sure you've ordered enough. So when you use the discount code Vinnie, VINNIE, you'll get your 10% off, but still qualify for the free shipping. That's my hack anyway. I like to do that. I'm shocked, Vinnie, at the number of people who still spell your name with a Y. And I know that they don't mean to. Like they're not like being dicks because they hear
online. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's VINNIE, not with the wimpy Y. 10% off of everything at Villa Capelli. All right.
Okay. So I had a few New Year's resolutions for this year. And of course, we're still not at the end of the year yet. But I wanted to get to another 1 million meters rowing by May, because that's when Concept 2, that's the year, their year starts on May 1st. I did make that goal. I finished up that goal. But then I want to get to 4 million by the end of the year. I'm not going to make that goal. So that's a failed goal. But I have a reason for failing at that goal. And I'll tell you about it when I tell you about this goal. I was also trying to get 365 hours of aerobics in 1 year, meaning from January 1st until the 31st. Now, again, we're on day 17 here, 17th of December. So and I'm almost at 400 hours. So I kicked that
Great.
goal's ass. So
Yeah,
you'll
you
say,
did.
"Well, why didn't you spend more time on the rowing machine?" Well, it's because other things, other goals changed throughout the year. I wanted to go do some hikes and this and that. So I had to start doing a lot of running and do this and that and the whole thing. It took me away from doing the amount of rowing I thought I can do. I also got back into the bike a little bit. Again, that took me away from rowing, and paddling and everything else took me away from the actual rowing. So in order to keep one goal going, I had to let the other one go. And the other thing I started doing this year, and this goal was not written down, was I felt I was losing too much muscle mass. Now, I'm not trying to look like Vinnie from the conch shell photos, right? And I keep myself lean, and Anna knows what my body looks like and the whole thing. But I felt like I was losing a little too much muscle mass.
I know what your body looks like.
Oh, yeah. Anna knows.
I know.
Anna does know. And so I decided to spend more time in the gym. So I did do more than the 365 hours. I'm going to be well over 400. I'm going to be on 400 tomorrow. So by the end of the year, I'm going to be at 400, and God only knows how many hours.
Wait, of lifting or of cardio?
Of cardio. Just cardio.
Okay.
And by the way.
But next year you want to do more lifting.
No, I did more lifting. I started doing more
Okay.
lifting this year, somewhere around June or July. I just started getting into it more. And again, not trying to look like conch shell Vinnie, but wanted to put more muscle mass on, because I felt like I was getting too lean and too skinny, and because I'm doing all this aerobics and all this stuff. So,
right.
And then the final thing was to build a kayak. Now, I was hoping to finish it this year. The goal was to start building a kayak, and my kayak is almost there. We worked on it maybe 36 or 38 weeks out of the 52 weeks this year. You know, one day a week, I would drive to Richmond over to Turning Point Boat Works with Joey Schott. But life gets in the way. Joey had to go teach. Joey teaches kayak, you know, sea rescue and all this different kind of stuff. And on some weekends, he's just gone.
Yeah.
That's why we couldn't work on it 52 weeks this year. Sometimes I'm gone. If I have to go to KetoCon or go here, or go there, go to California. So I missed some weekends. The boat is almost done. The goal was to start it. Joey and I would have had it finished, but right here at the end of the year, Joey had to go in for a little surgery. He is just fine.
Oh.
Yeah, he's fine. It was, I don't think he'll mind if I said it was a hip replacement surgery, because, we're all getting old and we're shit out. So
there's plenty of young people having hip replacements.
Joey's doing fine. And the boat will be finished shortly. So I'm very proud of that. It's one of the things I'm most proud of, because I've always wanted something like this, a cedar strip kayak or a cedar strip canoe. And, I just assumed one day I would just buy it. I'll just commission someone to build it for me. And of course, to do these things right, a lot of money. And I went, boy, it's a lot of money to just have sitting in a shed. And then I got into, why is it a lot of money? And it's all the labor. And it is labor intensive. So it is a labor of love. And I'm so happy that I did that this year, folks. If you only make one resolution this year, if you always said, I want to learn how to be a glass blower, or, build a model airplane, or, I don't know what it is, build a model train set, or any kind of thing that takes your mind off of what you're doing. This thing has helped me focus more than anything else I've ever done.
That's great. I love that.
It makes you and I wouldn't have ever thought that. Adam Carolla kept asking me about it all year whenever I did the Adam Carolla show. I can't describe, something was, there was something, I had to go fix something. Serena asked me to fix it and the whole thing. And I had to get some wood out and get some saws out and cut some stuff and do all this stuff. All of a sudden, I'm just doing this stuff by rote. I'm just going through it and doing it. I didn't have to think about it. I knew exactly what to do to get the job done, because the repetition you go through with adding strip by strip and, figuring this out and figuring that out, a lot of it you have to figure out in your mind. Sometimes you sketch it out, but just things where it would have looked like I fixed it versus getting a professional to fix it. Now it looks like a professional fixed it, and I'm doing it myself. You know, so a lot of good came out of that.
Can I?
Yeah, go on.
No, finish your thought.
I'm just saying, I'm telling everybody, whatever that thing is that you've always thought, even if you can't afford it, even if you think you don't have time, make that your thing. And no, I don't know what my resolutions are for this year yet, because I still have 2 weeks and
we still have time. And also, our show is long. I wanted you to name a couple of podcasts that were your favorite this past year.
Okay.
We still have to do a New Year's, what's it called? January 2nd.
Yeah.
So maybe we should save that for this. And let's do a retrospective of a couple of podcasts that you want people to listen to.
Let me just give those out, because maybe we can talk about New Year's resolutions on the 2nd, because people are going to be all hyped up about that. Probably my favorite, I'm going to save the favorite for last. Dr. Adair Ali came back on the show. He hadn't been on in a few years. And I love this guy. He's a cardiologist out of Texas. He's the one that does Low Carb Houston. He puts that on. And he's just a real positive force in this low carb game. He is a heart surgeon, and this guy believes in low carb, high fat. And we ended up talking about streaks. My thing is, I'll just say 365 hours for the year. I don't say an hour per day, right? I could skip 3 days, but I got to make up 3 days. He likes putting together streaks.
So is it, hold on, so is this a podcast episode? You interviewed this guy?
Yeah, Dr. Adair Ali. It's a Friday show.
Adair Ali. Okay. And Leona will link to these. Okay. What's another one? Just give a quick.
All right. So that was a great one. He talked about that. Jason Fung, who hadn't been on in a couple of years, came back late in the year here. It wasn't that long ago.
Dr. Jason Fung.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Fung, one of my favorites. Let me just name, this was my favorite one of the year.
Okay.
Before I get to the other two, because the other two are a bit different. Dr. Mary Newport, she was on a few years ago. She came back on, and she's always one of my favorite conversations. And I got more love letters about that and that woman. Every time she comes on, she
give me the billboard. What is
she figured out her husband, they were married since they were kids and the whole thing. She was a medical doctor. And all of a sudden she noticed that things weren't going well for him. He was declining mentally in his early 50s. And, she figured out to put him on coconut oil. Nothing else was working, medications and else. And cool. She's written books about it now. So you can check out Dr. Mary Newport. That one came out. My other two were Saturday show people. Scott King. I always like bringing Scott King on, because the guy, his story of inspiration, and he's always out there pushing NSNG, and he's helping other people.
He is.
Tim Mallion's coming around now, and he's helping Tim, and that's a big deal. So whenever I could get Scott King on the show, it's a big deal for me, because and by the way, the guy, he's converted his garage into a gym.
I love it.
He's run, this is a guy that weighed over 600 pounds, folks. He's run triathlons now and everything else. And probably my favorite Saturday show of the year, and boy, Robin Dobbins is going to hate this, but it's Matt Dobbins.
We're stumbling into your favorite Dobbins territory.
Yeah, Matt Dobbins came on.
It's hard to pick a favorite Dobbins.
Robin Dobbins is my favorite Dobbins, but my favorite podcast this year,
featuring a Dobbins.
No, just probably my favorite Saturday show this year was talking to Matt Dobbins, and boy, it's inspirational. And that one just came out. That one is not that old. You don't have to go back and dig. But he got a little emotional. I almost got a little emotional, because the guy changed his whole life.
Yeah.
Right. And he's one of these kind of rough and tumble looking guys, but boy, he's really a sweetheart, and he really opened up, and I really enjoy that guy. So my favorite Dobbins is Matt Dobbins. There you have it. that's what we did this year. And
great. Okay, so you guys check those out. All those, Leona's going to put links. If you didn't listen to them, go listen to them.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
By the way,
Happy New Year, Vin.
Go check out Anna. She's making that money left and right and doing nothing for it over at eathappykitchen.com.
I'm pocketing all the profits and purchasing cocaine.
She is rolling it. Every now and then she will cash a bunch of that money in and get it in dollar bills and just throw it on her bed and get naked and roll around in it.
I mean,
that's right.
Megan wants me to start an OnlyFans called OnlyPans, which I think is actually pretty smart.
Okay. It's time we get rid of Megan. I think we need to find someone else. OnlyPans. Folks, go check out Anna Vocino, Eat Happy Kitchen. The books are amazing. If you don't have them, someone was saying to me, I'm doing the NSNG thing. This happened again on Twitter yesterday. I'm doing the NSNG.
Thank you for putting, I saw that tweet. I was like, I know it does feel like people are punking us sometimes, but they really don't know.
They don't know. They're finding us.
So thank you for putting that tweet.
Of the
I appreciate
it. And all that. And people are asking me if I'm going back on Micro. Write to him on Twitter and say, hey, Mike, when are you having Vinnie?
That's a great idea, you guys, because he listens. He reads his social media.
Yeah. Say, hey, we want to have Vinnie back on the show, 2.0. So go do that. You know what to do with me. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire and it gets my train down the track.
It sure does.
And we also have the Superfan page. We have the Nickel and Diming Me ebook. Everyone loves the Nickel and Diming Me ebook. Go check that out. And rate and review this podcast on iTunes. That would really help us out.